What is going on, guys? We are back here again today. Welcome back to the channel, Savage Panda Projects, the Habitat for Horsepower. So recently you guys have been asking a lot of questions about the APR Pendulum and Dogbone mount upgrades I have on this particular A3. Many of you guys have shown a little bit of concern and hesitation when it comes to adding one of these upgrades as far as noise, vibration, and harshness. So I kind of want to take a minute to talk about that and just give you guys a general guideline as far as the expectation for running these mods in a daily setting. Let's go ahead and take a drive and we'll get into a full discussion here. Also, make sure to subscribe to the channel if you want to stay up to date with more projects, more content on this A3 build, as well as all other related automotive discussion videos. I would like to take a minute to give you an idea of just kind of like the transition of engine vibration into the cabin. So one thing that I've noticed with the Pendulum and Dogbone setup here is you'll notice that on a cold start, when you first go ahead and fire up your vehicle, you're gonna feel kind of like a firm jolt. So let me go ahead and do a cold start, and you can see if you notice anything maybe a little bit disruptive or a little bit different from your normal stock vehicle settings here. So let's go ahead and do a cold start. That Miltech exhaust growling back there. Alright guys, so went ahead and started up the vehicle here. I know it's kind of hard to tell. You're not going to get an accurate representation on camera. You would have to physically be in the vehicle to really feel that transition of engine vibration. But again, that's one thing I noticed is kind of very pronounced on a cold start is when you kind of feel this transmission area here. When you go ahead and start that up, you'll kind of feel it in your seat a little bit. Now, the biggest thing I want to tell you guys as far as one minor concern is when you go ahead and put the car in reverse. I'm just going to go ahead and do that here. I go ahead and start to move a little bit. I don't know if you guys can hear that. I'm not sure if the microphone on the camera is able to pick that up, but you can kind of hear like that sort of like tapping sort of vibration sound when you go ahead and pop the car in reverse. Now once you start to move, it'll start to kind of die. See, when you're in reverse and you're just kind of holding your foot stationary on the brake to prevent your car from moving, that's really when you kind of hear it. Again, not a huge complaint, but I wanted to kind of take a minute to showcase this because you guys have been asking me so many questions about it. From reverse. So you can hear the tapping. And let's go ahead and pop it into drive and you'll see if that subsides. Yep. So now that I'm drive, you don't actually hear it or feel anything. So again, I just thought I would take a minute to give you guys kind of like a realistic day-to-day setting, kind of what you might expect from a cold start. Does anything feel unusual? Does anything sound funny? We'll go ahead and do a little drive here. I'll run the car through the gears, do some shifting, and we'll kind of talk about some of the benefits of why you might want to add a Pendulum and Dogbone mount to your A3 or S3. Oh man, just such a nice, just firm, aggressive presence in those DSG shifts. I'll tell you guys, like, even after having stage 1 and stage 2 software well over a year, well over a good 20,000 miles or so of total driving, and gosh, this thing, it still amazes me just how just punchy and crisp and responsive those shifts are, man. I mean, it'll really get your attention, at least for me. There's always going to be your DSG haters out there, but that's a topic for another day. So about the Pendulum and Dogbone mount upgrade. So back in early 2018, I went ahead and decided to pull the trigger on the APR stainless steel Dogbone mount itself. So it's a $59 upgrade. There's a version 1 and version 2. For most of the earlier like 15, 16 model A3s, you'll have kind of like that like letter I shaped Dogbone insert, and for some of those newer models you'll see it'll have kind of more of like a triangular shape. So definitely make sure before you do this, get under there and confirm fitment, whether you have the version 1 or version 2. Pretty simple there. So with the Dogbone mount by itself, the stainless steel is obviously a very stiff, rigid piece. The purpose intended is to stiffen up the rigidity of the drivetrain to provide more of those crisp, responsive shifts, just to kind of eliminate any kind of slack within that transmission housing area. As you guys know, you're adding performance software, you're increasing your horsepower and torque by a massive amount over stock. So as you can expect, there's going to be a lot more stress on those drivetrain components. Now, as far as different designs for pendulum mounts and Dogbone mounts, some of the Dogbones, like I said, with the APR is a stainless steel. Some other manufacturers, they might have like a polyurethane style. So take a look at some of those different configurations. Think about whatever you decide you want to go with. I just me being like that APR guy, right? I just kind of have a thing where I like to stick with one brand as much as I can. So I decided to kind of stay on that bandwagon. Not something you have to do, but that's just kind of what I chose to do. I noticed immediately, as I talked about earlier in the video, on that cold start, that initial, that kind of firm kick in the pants, you just kind of feel it like right in this transmission shifter area. You kind of feel it in the bottom of the seat. You just have to expect that you go from like a weak soft rubber mount to a hard polyurethane or stainless steel. You're transmitting so much more engine vibration into the cabin of your car. So it is going to be a give and take. You can't expect to increase the rigidity of the drivetrain without noticeably feeling it. Now I want to say specifically with the Dogbone insert itself, the vibration was a little bit unpleasant. And I remember reaching out to my service advisor over at GMP Performance, and he had mentioned that based on other customer feedback, it seemed to be the general guideline was there was a bit more satisfaction with the overall, the drivability and the feel of the car when combined with the pendulum mount. The pendulum mount basically, it helps reduce the movement of forward and back motion from the engine. So you kind of help reduce some of that excessive play, so that way you're not getting all that unnecessary movement. But again, you reduce engine movement, you take away the softer rubber mounts, you go to a spherical bearing, a billet aluminum pendulum mount. Again, that's going to be transferring some vibration, so you have to expect that that is going to be compromising like the comfort day-to-day experience of your car. For whatever reason, adding the APR billet aluminum pendulum mount to the Dogbone mount, it seemed to balance things out. I don't know the science behind that, but based on my personal experience, I absolutely 100% felt a better driving experience combining the two. Initially going with the pendulum mount, Dogbone mount. At that point in time, my vehicle was not tuned. It was still in its stock form. Even without any ECU or TCU software, I could immediately notice right away those snappier, crisper shifts. I just felt like everything was just like the transfer and the delivery of power with the DSG, it just felt more refined. It felt more refined, and it just was, to me, an overall, it was a better experience from the standpoint of a car enthusiast. Now, I can understand why somebody might not want to do that, just because you're a little bit concerned about some vibrations. You don't want to upset or disrupt your passengers. But again, you just have to think about your intended purpose of the car. What are you going to be using it for? Now, for me, you know, I'm just pretty much banging around town. I'm not that cool. You guys are not seeing me doing ridiculously insane stuff. Track days, I'm not that cool. So I speak from the standpoint of a daily driver. I 100% think that you guys will absolutely get accustomed to the increase in NVH, which obviously stands for noise, vibration, harshness. I don't think it's something that's going to be a deal breaker. I don't think you're going to ruin your driving experience by doing these two upgrades. But I just make the point of saying, if you're going to do it, do the pendulum and Dogbone at the same time. Again, more of a refined driving experience, less vibration than just the stainless mount itself. Now, for the absolute best results, I would say if you want to improve the quality of your DSG shifting, ECU tune, TCU tune, pendulum, and Dogbone. I mean, the shifts are just so brutally fast with the TCU software. I mean, it's pretty much, as I mentioned before, it's still mind-blowing to me to this day, even after driving so many miles. And I just think everything is just so crisp and punchy. It's just such a better improvement over stock. Oh, yeah, I love that little turbo flutter in there. It's always amusing. Now, to provide another example of how a pendulum and Dogbone mount is a beneficial upgrade, if you take your car in its stock form and you go ahead and pop the hood, give it a couple revs, take a look at how much you see the engine move within that engine bay. After installing the pendulum and Dogbone, if you go ahead and perform the same test, you'll notice immediately after you've installed the pendulum upgrade that there's so much less rotational movement of that engine within the engine bay. So I think that's a great way to kind of visualize how those parts are actually working together, just kind of beef up the rigidity of the drivetrain, keep everything nice and secure under the hood. So just a quick recap for you guys. Pendulum and Dogbone, fantastic upgrades. I highly recommend checking them out. If you decide you want to add some more power to your A3, S3, any MQB car, certainly a step in the right direction to get yourself on track to being able to handle some more power. Definitely need to expect there is going to be some increase in the vibration and harshness. I think the vibration can be minimized by combining the pendulum and the dog mount at the same time. Give yourself the best possible results. I hope you guys find this video helpful and informative. Always try to make sure to take the time to give you guys just kind of my step-by-step experience along this build process, going through each and every mod. Just want to provide you guys with any beneficial information I can. Not a whole lot of discussions out there for the A3. So trying to help you guys out as much as possible. Well, stay tuned for more updates. Make sure to subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. I went ahead, I scheduled an appointment with GMP to get the new version of APR software. I believe it's update 2.0X. We've got the new adjustability with different crackle modes. So make sure to kind of check that out, see what all's going on. So make sure to stay tuned for that update as well. Well, thank you guys so much. I appreciate all the support. I will see you guys in the next one. Have a great day.